Okay, so this is my very first, hello everyone. This is my first time I am streaming on YouTube and Instagram at the same time. I will say if you're on YouTube, the sound quality is going to be a little bit better because I have my handy dandy microphone. So YouTube, head over there if you want a little bit better sound quality. So this is your chance to ask me about cello tips, cello technique, any questions you all have. Chelly and I are here to demonstrate today. It's Cello Tip Tuesday live stream. What? Cello Tip Tuesday live stream. So, those of you on YouTube or Instagram, we're on Instagram too, you guys can ask questions and I will do my best to demonstrate. Is anyone having any practice room blues? Anything that is tricking you up in your practice time, or anything in technique you would like to know about or to see Chelly and I demonstrate? Please submit your questions and requests. And until I see questions, I'm just going to improvise with Chelly. And you guys are going to get some music either way. So I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. Please submit your questions. And I'm going to start some serenade courtesy of Chelly. So. Can I start cello for learning even though I am 47 years old, but I am a music teacher? So I get this question a lot. People who are adults with other careers that could be music related, but they're not necessarily cello related or completely unrelated to music. Can I start learning cello? And my opinion is, if you want to learn an instrument for the sake of enjoying it, experiencing the music, yeah, why not? I don't think there's any age limit to somebody learning an instrument just for the sake of enjoying it and wanting to experience music or the instrument. You know, so if you just want to try cello for the sake of experiencing its unique sound, its unique color, absolutely. And considering you're also a music teacher, that is going to help with things such as note reading and tuning and intonation, because you already have that musical ear. So why not? I totally endorse adult beginners starting the instrument for the sake of experiencing it. Absolutely. Great question. Any more questions? We are here for an hour, myself and Chelly. And yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. And you dolls, please submit questions for me. And I'd be happy to help you guys however I can. for submitting. I am a self-taught adult and find myself stuck because I don't know the notes. Any great lessons or videos you can recommend? Okay, so now one thing I'm wondering about is it questions for the notes in regards to note reading, or where are they on the instrument? So I can offer a couple quick tips about that in terms of note reading. So when I teach note reading to students, first find out where the open strings are on the staff. So your A string, the top string, is the top note of your staff. So top string, top line of the staff. The D is the middle. The G is the bottom line of your staff. And C string is as low as you can go below the staff. So by getting super familiar with where your open strings are on the staff, that will help you crucially kind of fill in the blanks as you learn more with the fingers. Oh, thank you for following up. Not the fingerings, basically reading. Oh, I understand. So thank you for being honest. We have a self-taught cellist who is getting into the writing the numbers problem, right? When you first start, you start writing some numbers above the music, and then sometimes, hold on, I'm getting a note about my sound on YouTube. Thank you, Jolky. Thank you, Jolky. This should be coming in. It should be coming in on stereo. I'm not quite sure why you're getting mono. Here we go. Hold on a second. Okay, that should help. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that note. So, about the note reading. Thank you. So, getting stuck on the numbering issue where we're always hearing numbers. Sorry, hearing the notes, but wanting to write the number above the notes. How do we get out of that numbering pattern? So what I would challenge you to do is to maybe write one note number per measure, one fingering per measure. And then you can watch the direction of the notes. So if I'm playing a scale really quickly, the notes are going up, and as a result, the direction of the notes is going to go up on the staff. So when the notes get higher, the contour goes up. When you come down, they also come down. So I often tell students, don't get stuck on reading one note at a time, but rather watch the direction of the notes. So if you see a bunch of notes next to each other and they're going up and you don't see any skips, that's a scale-like pattern. So I would really encourage you to see the notes in context, watch the direction of them, as opposed to being stuck on one single note at a time. Okay? I hope that helps. And again, limit how many finger numbers you use, because the goal is you see a G on the staff, which is, you see a G, fourth finger. You want to eventually be able to recognize that without needing the little 4 on top. So, limit the number of fingers And I really hope you will start making that correlation. If you want a great way to start, do not put 0 for open strings. That's a great way to start if you're unsure, or if you feel like I still need a little more help other than only giving myself one finger number per measure. Don't do the open strings. So start by learning the open strings first. Okay, we have some questions on YouTube. Practice tip. Fast, very specific, I love it. Fast and light Baroque trill for Vivaldi concerto with 2nd and 4th finger. I'm so slow. Oh my goodness. Yes, trills. That's honestly something I really struggle with. That's one of the top things that is difficult for me is fast trills, but I can give you some tips because I work on them a lot. So for fingers 2 and 4, I will say that is one of the most difficult, 2 and 4. So a couple things you can do if you want to work on your trills is you can take your hand on the body. Sometimes having it over here, we can't always see what we're doing. You can do this like a finger tap on the side. So I'm doing 2, 4, and what you want to see is if 3 and 4 can land together like a unit. And then you want to have them close. And you want to see that your hand isn't clenching or cramping up. Because if your hand is tight, it's really, really hard to trill fast. If you're tense, you're not going to be able to trill very well. So then another trick you can do are some left hand finger drills. So I'm making up a pattern in my left hand that involves a 4-2. Sorry, you might be hearing some trucks outside during this. So that one was 1, 2, 4, 2, 1, 2, 4, 2. That's a good pattern if you want to focus on between 2 and 4. And to elaborate on that, you ask, so only finger movement, no wrist. Well, no part of our hand is going to be static and tense when we're playing cello. So in regards to the wrist, I would say my wrist is slightly reacting, but it's not proactive in the motion when you're over here. So that's a big part of it, making sure that the wrist is light and along for the ride. Okay? Hello! Hello everyone on Instagram. Hello everyone on YouTube. So going to be doing this, and then when you bring it back to the cello, try to replicate that feeling. You can do some little hops, like some little teleporting hops like this. Okay, and then there is an exercise that is really good for trills. Hold on, I think I have it here in my bag. There's an excellent study in trill technique. Hold on. And if I can't find it, I will be sure to comment below, and I will comment on the video and then you can look it up later. I don't have it with me at this moment. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's a famous etude book that is really good. They have an excellent exercise for trills. And when you practice trills, do them in about 5-minute increments because your hand is going to cramp and we don't want that. So we're working on really small muscle groups and do it about every 5 minutes. And until I put that exercise on the YouTube channel, so what you can do is make up a finger pattern 1, 2, 4, 2. And if you notice for me between 2 and 4, I do have to tilt a little bit forward to get a good rocking motion. So again, you might have to adjust the technique a little bit for the sake of a trill. You might have to adjust it a little bit by doing this. Okay? Good. So that is something you can try out. Again, after this stream, I will be sure to put that etude book in the video notes. And hold on a second here. Let me see. Hold on 1 second. There we go. Sorry guys, I just have to do... Okay, there we go. I just have to fix something on the stream. There we go. Okay, so we had another question from YouTube. Any advice on smooth bow transitions from open A to a note on the G on D string? Okay, up and down bows. So this is something that I've noticed in some of my other students. We're talking about a string crossing. From an A to a G. And there's a couple things to keep in mind for this string crossing. Because first off, the A string is thin, the D string is thicker. So that is already something we have to keep in mind, that the A string comes easy. For the D string, we need a little bit more of a push to get a clear sound. So I'm pushing with a little bit of bow speed. Okay, so I'm nice and weighted. And then I push the up bow. The other thing is having a supported elbow. So when I play the A, I can be preparing the G. That's a huge thing. When you have an open string, you can be preparing the next note easily. Because open string, you don't need your left hand for that. So, raise the elbow. And a way to test, well, how's my elbow height? Play the open string while playing the G. Because, I'm not going to make a pretty sound, spoiler, if your elbow droops, you can't play the open A. It doesn't sound very pleasant. So by raising a little bit, making sure our fingers are nice and curved, curling and curving the fingers, we're going to get a tunnel so that we can have the G prepared. Because often when we hear a squeak or a sound we don't like, something isn't prepared. The left hand is usually not prepared ahead of time. This hand up here. So if our weight isn't in the string, that's also going to make the transition difficult between A and G. So again, step 1, curl the fingers, support with the elbow. See if you can play an open A cleanly while fingering the G. And then when you're ready to try the G, you need a little more weight and a push. So make sure your weight is in the string. Another important tip before you push. So A, weight, push. A, weight, push. Same thing if you're going the opposite directions. Weight, pull. So often with my students, I call a down bow a pull and an up bow a push, because you're at different angles at the bow. Your arm's like this here, and then your arm is totally different. You guys can't see it on Instagram, but it's so different. The construction of it is so different. So by thinking of it as a pull versus a push, you're mentally going to think of them as different processes because they are. Okay, that was a lot of explanation. I'm sorry on Instagram if I missed any questions. I'm going to take a quick sip of my water. Hold on. Awesome. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad you found them helpful. Do we have any questions on Instagram? I'm trying to scroll. I'm so glad you guys are here on the Instas. What can I do if I get tense when I play my repertoire? Oh, that's a great question. So, when you are playing repertoire and you find yourself getting tense, it's important to ask why you're tense. So are you tense? Oh, I see another question. I promise I'll get to it. Thank you for the question. So if you're tense while playing repertoire, you need to ask, well, what is causing me to be stressed? Do I have a shift that I'm nervous about? Is it a shift that's causing me, excuse me, I got the burpees. Is it a shift that is causing me to be stressed? Is it playing on the C string? Is it the C string because it's a thick string and I feel like I need to push a lot? So I want you to start taking mental notes or even writing them down on when you feel stressed. So that's the first step. The second step, which is addressing it. So what I think I'm going to do is I am going to talk about some of the most common reasons that we get stressed. So one thing, the most common thing I notice in tension is we suspend our shoulders. So if we suspend our shoulders, we're actually taking the weight away from the instrument. We're lifting ourselves out of the instrument. And when our weight travels away, we work harder because our weight is up here. So, I don't feel supported. I got to work harder. And it just turns into this perpetual cycle of awfulness for your body, unfortunately. So the first thing, practice in front of a mirror. That's crucial in seeing your posture. And I don't want any of you to push down your shoulders. Think of it as a shrug like this. You release, right? When you, release. So when you're practicing, try to do that shrug and release. Maybe do it at the end of every line of music or every 4 bars. Set a marker for yourself so you can release your shoulders that way. And by setting a marker in your music, you will be constantly practicing this. So that's the first common thing. The second common thing is the bow arm being too high. So if the bow arm's too high, it's the same problem as the shoulders. Our weight is out of the string and we have to work harder. So I often call this the ostrich or flamingo arm, where the elbow is lower than the wrist. Elbow is lower than the wrist. I'm doing both views for those of you watching, depending on which platform you're on. So if the elbow, and it doesn't have to be something extreme, right? That's the other thing in cello playing. It's like Goldilocks. You have to find the right balance in the middle, of course. So experiment, but the elbow is almost never above the wrist. The only exception is when you're doing an extreme up bow at the tip and you need leverage. You might have to lift up a little bit to get the weight above the bow. You might need to lift a tiny bit. But again, look at how extreme this is. To get a big, clear sound at the tip, we can often in music work our way into the tip or start a strong entrance down bow. So what I just showed you is kind of a rare occurrence. So the whole point of that was tension. Experiment, is your elbow lower than your wrist? Is it below the wrist? That's what I think is the important takeaway from that. So I hope those help. I did give some more general tips because, again, it is so crucial to know what causes you to be stressed or where you feel the tension. Again, if you feel very tense in your neck and shoulders, it's probably this. If you feel tense in your hand around the thumb joint, your thumb might be squeezing, and the thumb squeezes when it's not supported. So having our weight in the instrument in the correct ways is a huge way to combat tension. And I'm speaking as somebody who struggled with so many tension playing problems when I was, honestly, I would say I finally got a handle on it in my master's degree. Like in my early 20s, like I finally had a light bulb moment and I finally got it. And it took so long for me. And I will say it did improve. It's not like I was stuck playing tense as I was maybe when I was 10. Like it was gradually improving, but the big, like, oh, I get it, finally started happening around my master's program. So never too early to start thinking about this. Okay, so I saw a big question on Instagram. Whoop. I want to be sure. It seemed like a long question and you took so long to type it. My lower strings on my cello sound really good and mellow, but my higher strings are tinny sounding. Does this mean I need different strings for the higher strings? Excellent, excellent question. So, oh, and there's something else here. Okay, great. So, excuse me. So for the strings, great observation. So we have a cellist who says their lower strings sound great, but the upper strings sound kind of tinny. So that can mean a couple things. I would ask if were all of your strings changed about the same time? Because sometimes, especially if you get a new cello or you're renting a cello, sometimes the age of the strings aren't equal, where, you know, the lower strings might be brand new and the upper strings might be pretty old, and that will cause them to be tinny. However, if that's not the case, if you're saying nope, they're all pretty much brand new and I just don't like how they sound, well then I say yes, it sounds like you need to try a different brand of strings. And what you can do is, if you have some friends who are cello players, especially if you go to a music school, you guys can do a fun string swap where you borrow your friend's spare pair of strings and you try out a brand for a couple days, see if you like them, and then give them back. That's huge, because everyone, you should have spare strings in your case. You really should, because you never know when you're at a gig and a string breaks. And if you say, I don't have another string, it doesn't appear very professional, unfortunately. So what I do is, whenever I change my A and D string every 6 months, I take those old strings, I put them in my case, I date them, I write the date on the envelope. Those are my spare strings. Because even though they're older, I know I can put them on and just play one gig or something. It's not going to be a big deal. So hopefully you have friends that have spare strings, and maybe you can borrow a pair and try them out before you spend the money on them. Another thing, I haven't actively searched for this, but I'm curious if there would be a cellist on YouTube who did a video demonstrating all sorts of string brands. Or a lot of string companies will have video demonstrations of their brands. But you have to be very careful because it's on a different cello. It's not on your cello. So you have to keep that in mind while you're listening. So instead of thinking so much about, oh, that sounds good, or that sounds better, think, does it sound bright? Does it sound dark? Is it a sharp, piercing sound? Or is it more mellow and have a glow on it? Think of it in terms of those kind of descriptive qualities, because that will likely translate to your cello as well. I say likely. Again, all cellos are different. But if you say something like, oh, that string was so lush and beautiful, I put it on my cello and it doesn't sound the same, you're going to be disappointed, of course, because it's not your cello. But if you hear a string brand in a video and you go, okay, the sound seems warm and bigger compared to this other string I found online. Is that what I want for my A and D? So you have to be careful listening online. I hope those tips help you. Good luck. I'm sorry you don't like the sound of your A and D string. Okay, so I'm checking on the YouTube chats and I'm checking on the Instagram chats. For those of you dolls who are submitting song requests, unfortunately, I really try to reserve Cello Tip Tuesday for technique and music industry questions. Just because there's no way I can honor every single person's song request ever. And I don't want to like horribly disappoint anybody. I hope that makes sense. Don't be mad at me, please. How many years have you been playing and how often per week? That's a great question. Saw another one about left hand tension. Hello friends on the gram. Okay, so we'll talk about those two. Awesome. Sit back down. Okay, so how long have I been playing? I have been playing the cello for 20 years as of August. Oh, it's a long time. It's a very long time. So I've been playing cello for 20 years. I began when I was 8, so I'm 28 years old as of right now. And how often do I practice per week? And I saw this was, I believe, Noah Cello on Instagram. And if you haven't already, I I think it was last month or 2 months ago, I just made a vlog about this on my YouTube channel that I really encourage you to check out. I talk about practice room hours. So how my quantity of hours changed as I got older and I learned how to practice more efficiently and effectively. And also, I mean, right now, as somebody who's out of school and pursuing work, you know, jobs, gigs, professional life, education isn't my primary focus anymore. And when you are out there and really hustling and trying to get the work, you can't sit in a room and practice all day. You have to be out there getting work. Oh, thank you. Oh, sorry, it's NAG Cello. I'm sorry I got your handle wrong. NAG Cello. So when I was in undergrad, I practiced about 5 to 6 hours a day. Now that is not including rehearsals, so orchestra class, chamber music class, orchestral excerpts class. That is not including, that doesn't, unfortunately, that does not include those rehearsals. So there would be some days I would play cello over 10 hours easily every day in undergrad. Not every day, but I was frequently going above 5 or 6 hours a day. It was very rare that I would play and I would only have to practice that day. I usually had orchestra or some chamber music rehearsal. Then when I got into my master's program, I wound it down to 4 because I figured out some ways to practice more effectively and I was starting to gig more. Then in my professional diploma in New York, I was practicing 3 hours a day because I wanted to gig in New York City and I was working much more. So now that I'm out of school, I try to do about 2 hours of concrete practicing, and then I might spend an hour or 2 recording. But in terms of like woodshedding on cello and practicing repertoire and keeping my chops up, I try to do that about 2 hours a day. So I saw another question about left hand tension earlier. And again, those numbers I gave, I give them to illustrate kind of my journey on cello. And I'm not saying this is what you have to do. You know, I was in a very rigorous conservatory program. It was very intense. Lost a lot of sleep. I did not sleep a lot in undergrad by any means. So I did lose a lot of sleep. But, you know, if you are practicing and you're only in high school or you're going to college for science or something else and you play in your college community orchestra, those numbers are going to be different for you. So I'm relaying those numbers within my context as I experience them. You know, if you are thinking about going into a full-time conservatory training and you want to do this professionally and you're approaching the end of your high school career, you know, think about those numbers. You know, about 4 hours a day is very realistic for someone in college to just be practicing by yourself. Excellent. So we had a question about left hand tension. So with left hand tension, again, the thumb is a big culprit. The thumb is usually a culprit. And the thumb squeezes when the hand doesn't feel very supported. Hold on a second. Those of you on YouTube, I just turned my mic a different way. So I actually think you're going to hear better There we go. I'm trying my setup out here for Cello Tip Tuesday live stream. I do it in another room, so a little bit of adjustments here, but okay. Great. So left hand tension. The thumb frequently squeezes when the arm isn't supported. So you might hear a student, or not a student, a teacher might call it your chicken wing, having your arm up. And, you know, again, we can always do too much, but the tendency is for the arm to droop down. So what I tell students, when you lift the arm, the whole arm moves as a unit. So look at the crucial difference. This is the correct way. This is the wrong way. And the main difference is this way, my wrist isn't following the crowd here. So everything comes up, not getting this kind of V-shaped dip in your wrist. That creates a lot of tension problems. So it could be a couple things. Your thumb could be squeezing. Your wrist might not be on the same page as the rest of your arm. And that can be hard to feel out on the cello alone. So what I tell students, you have to be familiar with this joint. Okay? So our wrist can droop down. It can pop up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So get comfortable doing this away from the cello so that when you're adjusting over here, if this happens, you're able to lift the wrist easily. Sometimes doing that at the cello is difficult. That's why I tell people to do it away from the cello and then go back and try. So that's crucial. Lifting the arm up. And those of you who did my vibrato boot camp, you know this exercise. And I'm just going to do a little plug for those of you who might not know. In July, I made a whole curriculum on vibrato. So these are for beginner cellists who might just be getting into vibrato or who have never tried vibrato. I have a 4-week curriculum with videos, and I tell you which videos to do every day, kind of like an exercise program. So if you've done that program, you know this exercise where you put 1, 2, 3 on the fingerboard, you bring your thumb up and behind, and you slide. And this will train your elbow to stay up. It's also going to train the muscles back here. Because even though we don't want any tension or any pain, you are going to work muscles. I remember, see, there are the trucks. You might be hearing some beeping. Those are the trucks. I remember when I would play a certain piece in college, I would be like, man, I'm feeling like I went to the gym and lifted a weight, like I'm a little sore. And that's okay because we are using new muscles. So that exercise will train the back of your arm here, lift up, slide, and this will be important. This will be very important when you have to do big shifts. Like this one I'm imitating from Rococo Variations. Because if our elbow's too low, shifts become really complicated because you got to throw your arm up at the last minute. And that is not a lot of fun. So again, I would recommend supporting with the arm. That's going to really help a lot of tension. That's really going to help you to prevent a lot of tension in the arm. Good. We have a question from YouTube. Old Rosin. 6 to 7 years old? How do you have rosin that old and you've never dropped it? I'm very impressed. How did you do that? That's so impressive. I'm always so paranoid about, I'm very paranoid about breaking my rosin. That's very impressive. Should I buy a new one? Yes. I think I don't know actually. Hold on. So, I'm going to show you one of my rosins. I have many rosins. Oh, you guys are most welcome. This is why I do this. I want to help you guys out. Do I have it on me? So I want to show you because honestly, a rosin is ready to retire when it gets super thin and there's not a consistent coating. So on Jolky, as long as you have, also I'm sorry if I don't say any of your names right, I really don't intend to. If you still have a solid coating on the bottom of your rosin, I don't see why you shouldn't keep using it. Because if you think about it, it's pretty much fresh once you work your way down to that new layer. But if you want some recommendations on rosins, it depends on your price point. I know Pirostro has a rosin. They have different types. Oh, it's only dust. Only dust at this point. Oh dear. Yeah, it's time. It's time to get, oh, someone asked, is that a Dark Souls poster? Yeah, right up there. That is, the boyfriend's Dark Souls poster. It's his favorite video game. So yes, we have quite a bit of some Dark Souls themed artwork in our apartment as well as other video games. Good catch. So yes, rosin brands. I know Pirostros. They make actually a few different rosins, so that's a good brand if you want some variety. And they're kind of mid price point. They have different ends of the spectrum, so you can you could buy a really expensive Pirostro rosin or a more affordable one. I don't remember what it was called. It was a red rosin and it had a green Pirostro. And I used that all throughout growing up, maybe even through high school. So I used that one for a really long time. I don't even know if they make it anymore. The other one I used, it used to be called Andrea, and now I believe they changed their name. They're Cecilia Cello rosin. And this is their solo one. I think they have another one that's a little softer. But the thing about this one, the sound is very punchy. Very, very sharp sound. It really grips. It's like super powerful rosin. It is expensive. I have a student who had it and they said it's a little too punchy. So what I told them is make a blend. So do a swipe with the really strong one and then a couple swipes with your other rosin might even it out. Another rosin I've tried is Bespoken, and those of you who follow me, I did a promo with them. And no, I'm not doing the promo right now, so this isn't an ad. I sincerely really like this rosin. So this is not a sponsored whatever. I tried this rosin and I was really impressed with it. Leatherwood Bespoken rosin. They have 3 different types and they have a very unique case. Their case looks like this. So it's shaped like your bow. I will say though, this rosin is more expensive. It is pricey. This rosin is pricey because they're a small business. They're just starting out and they try to do everything eco-friendly. So they're a very they have a big emphasis on sustainability, so they are going to use different types of materials. It is going to be a little more expensive to produce the rosin, so it's a little pricey, but it's they're very conscious about the planet, which I really like. So that's okay. Cool. Good reviews. Thank you. And should I keep the rosin in a sealed bag? It does help. I think it would help. I know the Andrea comes in a little cap. They have a little case they give you. So I think I have time for maybe one or two more questions. I'm going to go back to the gram. I started playing the cello in May. Do you think it's possible to reach a good level as a cellist if one did not start learning as a child? Someone wrote about the smell of rosin. It does have a very unique smell. Oh, you all are so most welcome. So the thing I will say about adult learning, I think, one of my teachers when I was a child was a self-proclaimed average amateur adult student, but honestly, she was pretty good. She was too humble. She was a very good cellist. So I believe that people can reach a high level even as an adult. I will say I do think in order to make cello or any musical instrument your full-time career, 24/7, 365, to make it your primary professional livelihood, you really do have to start as a child. Or I actually know some colleagues who hadn't started until they were like 11 or 12, and they're amazing cello players, other instruments as well. So to be honest, if you want a full-time professional job and that's all you want to do with your life, you do need to start at a younger age. But if you want to just be hello everyone that's joining, welcome. If you want to get good on the cello and you want to experience classical repertoire, if you want to play some of your favorite covers, that's absolutely feasible. You can play cello sonatas. You can even, as an adult learner, you can learn how to play a concerto someday. Nothing like that is out of your reach. Absolutely not. So I really hope what I said makes sense. I hope it's encouraging. So, go and practice. I'm going to practice after this live stream. I still have to practice today. And I wanted to thank you all so much for joining this live stream. I hope you found it fun. Let me know if you want me to do more dual streams on YouTube and Instagram if you enjoyed this. Thank you all so much. I love your questions. It's so fascinating to me to hear what you dolls want to learn about. And to be honest, I had a rough start to my day, and this brightened it up. This really did. I had a fiasco of some errands to run. Oh, it was a long morning. And coming here and spending time with you all, I really appreciate it. And you guys made my day so much better by being here, and I sincerely mean that. So thank you all so much. Those of you on YouTube and Instagram, I will say for those of you on Instagram, if you aren't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I would highly encourage it. The channel keeps growing. It's very exciting. And there's so many. All right, thank you, Jolky. I'll check that out for next time about my audio. But again, I really, really hope that those of you on Instagram, check out the YouTube channel and subscribe to show your support. There's so many cello tip videos on there, as well as music videos. I'm in the process of planning 3 more to be coming out in the next few weeks. It's going to be crazy. So you don't want to miss that. Those of you on YouTube, you already know. Fun stuff's coming down the line. And I'll see you guys next time for some more Cello Tip Tuesdays. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.